It's gonna be on
everything.
we normally do.
And we are live. Welcome everyone back to the Splitting Hairs podcast. I'm Dirk, that's Ray. And tonight we're joined by legendary musician Scott Grote. How are you tonight, sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir.
Oh,
you got to turn the volume down. It's a live show.
Yep.
All right, we'll get things set here. It's all about sound, right?
Yes, sir. It is.
The sound can be tricky, as I'm quite sure you know.
Yes,
you'll have it set up for 1 minute, and then one little tweak happens, and you've got to go through it and redo the entire thing.
And there's a difference between line check and sound check. Line is just making sure everything works, and then there's sound check. And half the time when you're doing sound check, you kind of go, why waste a lot of time? Because the room's going to change in about 2 hours when it hopefully fills up.
Yeah,
doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
So now, what do you guys do to kind of counter that? Do y'all like go ahead and try to account for the room being full, or
Don't overthink it.
just set it and go?
You learn to adjust on the fly, and you kind of talk to the audience a little bit. How's the sound? Because we have a pretty good feel for our balance, but it's the actual volume of the room. And as the room fills up, as you know, being a bar owner, it's a little loud when there's nothing going on as far as music. So, but it's always fun. It's a challenge. I always like to say that I pride myself in learning to play to the room, and which means more than the acoustics of the room as it is the environment of the room for the night. If you play in a place like this where it gets a little noisier versus I play like wine shops and stuff like that, where you got to be kind of quiet, kind of chill music. So
let's start at the beginning. How'd you fall in love with music?
Had a couple of brothers that got some brand new shiny guitars, and I thought, God, where's mine? So I'd kind of steal theirs and start playing, and I was 12 years old. First song I was learning on a guitar was one called Gloria, which is way back in the 60s. And then just from there started playing, never taken any formal lessons, but I just kept playing multiple instruments, multiple styles of music, which can be kind of painful sometimes because you might get hired to play bass for a band that plays nothing but what I would call old time, like waltz polkas and Glenn Miller, Mills Brothers, that big band type stuff. And you just learn to adapt to it. Then the next night you might be playing with a band doing some Deep Purple or Doobie Brothers or something. And then the next night you're doing a country gig.
So now you learned all this just by ear, just sitting down and trying to figure out how they were making a sound?
I shouldn't say I play by ear, but I basically can figure things out by listening to it and work on it. I do like to have charts because that helps me get it more correct than I trust my ear to do. But just playing songs and stuff. So I've got one of those knacks where I can go and just sit in with people, and which has always been one of my passions in life. I've done a lot of traveling in my life, and I'd walk into different places, and if I would see an extra guitar on the stage, I'd go, let guys sit in with you. And do you play? Yeah. Got your guitar? No, it's about 1,800 miles away. So I'd get up, then I'd eventually get you up there. One night there's a guy out of Memphis, Lucerno. Have you heard of him? Lucero or something like that. He sells like 500,000 records a year. He's kind of an Americana blues type player, and kind of working his way up the charts. You can look for him and stuff. And my son was working with a group that used the same record distributor. And we go down to listen to him, and my son goes, Dad, Lucerno, I think is going to let you get up and play with him. I'm going, okay, be kind of fun, And I started listening to their music, and it was right up my alley because I love bluesy, folk, pop rock stuff. I call it Americana because Americana, nobody knows what it is. When you say Americana, everybody goes, what's that? It's a combination of all different kinds of music. So they're playing that kind of style, that Memphis bluesy folk style. And, this would be kind of fun. So he gets off the stage. My son introduces me to him, and he goes, well, what kind of stuff do you do? I said, I can follow just about anybody. And he goes, well, okay, we'll wait and see. And then he gets two friends of his up to play, and I listened to those guys, and I looked at him. I said, do you think they would mind sitting in with them? He goes, can you follow them? I said, I think so. So I get up there and I grab the guitar and just start this natural feeling. They're playing, and I'm all of a sudden take this next level for them. And they kind of go like this. It's like, oh, so we played for a while. And I get off the stage, and I get ready to get off the stage, and Lucero's going back up. He said, don't leave. Stay here. So we played most of the night and stuff. And about a week later, my son gets this call from their record distributor, and he goes, who's your dad? And he goes, my dad. Why? He goes, he's like some famous guitar player. And he goes, no, most of these guys aren't as good as they think they are. And he just says this. There's writers, and then there's people that play.
Yes.
And when you're playing layering on top, you have a lot easier job than holding a song down and stuff. If you're just sitting there and noodling, it's a lot of fun. It's like painting a picture freestyle. So I learned to do that, and I've been blessed with opening up for some big bands. Never played in any big bands. I've always been a weekend warrior hobbyist.
Mm-hmm.
Have that addiction to play music and do music things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So one thing led to another. I've always played. I ended up moving here. Before I moved here, I was in the Black Hills of South Dakota playing with various bands out there, doing festivals. They had a big festival called the Black Hills Heritage Festival. It's like 3-4 day festival and stuff, and was part of that, putting that thing together. Some fun stories. One of the bands I played with, we had the opportunity to open up a big festival up in Deadwood, South Dakota, and they had Night Ranger and Blood, Sweat, and Tears playing. So he comes to the rehearsal and he goes, hey guys, I got this gig. We're opening up for Night Ranger and Blood, Sweat, and Tears. And I'm going, Blood, Sweat, and Tears? My genre. And I go, who's Night Ranger? And he looks at me, he goes, who's Blood, Sweat, and Tears? You got these different generations things on who you grew up with. So, had the privilege of doing that. It's always fun being on a big stage because you end up working with high-end professional sound companies. Plus, there's somebody to carry your amplifier up.
That's always helpful.
Yeah.
Sure.
I worked at Red Hat Amphitheater in Raleigh for a couple seasons. And
as a stagehand?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So I was on the back of the truck. I was a pusher.
Okay.
So I'm just pushing cases to the edge of the stage.
Well, the modern stuff now, it's all on wheels and they chained it up, and But it was funny because somebody said, well, how'd you like having a roadie? I said, that's pretty cool. I always was almost going to say when they said, where would you like your amplifier? Say, across the street, through that hotel, out the back door, up the fire escape, 3 floors over, down again, go up the block, 2 blocks back, and then bring it down here, then set it right there.
Sure, they would love that.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's just been a fun little ride, fun passion. Moving here, I ran into some great players. So I do a thing, some of you know me from a group called the Scott Grote Mystery Tour.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's where I met you.
Yeah. And people go, are you a Beatles band? And I said, no, I wouldn't do that to the Beatles. I have too much respect for them. Because we don't rehearse a lot because, one, unfortunately, the guys I play with are good enough to grab onto whatever I do. 2, it changes on the fly anyhow. You rehearse. And the other thing I say, and don't get me wrong, because you treat us well, if I rehearse a whole lot and go out and play, I don't get paid a whole lot more money. So. But what I do, the mystery tour part is, years ago, I'd play with set guys, and as the band develops and stuff like that, everybody has day jobs. So it's hard to figure out schedules. And you'd go in, you'd talk to a venue owner and say, you go, yeah, you got this date? Yeah, let me dial 7 people here. Can you? So I started just booking gigs. And one of the restaurants I played out in Rapid City, South Dakota, I'd go in and the owner would go, so who's going to play with you? And I'd look at him and say, John, I'll let you know when I'm done for the night. I would say before the gig, but there'll be a couple people stopping in to sit in. And then one of my friends, actually a brother, plays fiddle, and he'd come and play with me. And the owner would go, how do you get Kenny to come sit in with you? I said, I don't pay him. Can't afford to pay him. But I give him a free drink and a free glass of wine and stuff. So you're fortunate to have people like that. But if I pick up gigs, I'll just kind of check with people and go, hey, can you play? Can you play? And then I will do, and you'll see a lot of bands doing this. They'll do acoustic sets. And then I'll also bring in like a 4, 5, 6-piece band, depending on what we're doing. Got a guy that plays pedal steel that loves to play with me, but
oh, nice.
You have to find a venue.
Yeah.
So then we turn into a country band, with what I do now and stuff. And then I also, and people think I'm crazy because I actually ask the audience if there's anybody out there that plays and would like to come up and play. Now we vet them. If they've been day drinking, they're not touching this. But you got somebody like you that's out there. You're with your friends. You're in town and stuff, and hey, you want to come up and do a song or two? And we just have a lot of fun with that.
We've had some fantastic shows here, kind of using that format. You were a part of one of those shows.
So we did. I spoke to you earlier about my friend Adam, lead guitarist in my band. We were in a band when we were 16. Oh. Well, our drummer was coming to town from Utah for the 2 weeks for Christmas. Oh, we're like, hey, we should do a show. We ain't played together in 20 years. I ain't seen him in 10 years. So he got on the phone, and Adam got on the phone, and I got on the phone, and we got 4 bands put together here, and we switched out all night, and we had a blast.
That's when it's fun.
Absolute blast.
And everybody knows a little bit about songs, and when you get them together, if it's not all perfect, well, nobody's recording it. It's like,
so a couple weeks back, we had some guys come in here, and apparently it had been some time since they had played together, unbeknownst to me, and we got them up here on stage, and they were not able to kind of mesh in together. They were off beat. They were, not everybody was playing the same tune.
You got to practice by yourself too.
Right. Well, and you have different, and don't take this wrong, people listening, but you have different calibers of people that play. I play with, fortunately, guys all over the place. The other night, one of the guitar players playing with me used to tour with Bon Jovi. So I'm like, and he's in the area. It's like, wow, this is fun. You get people like that can listen and stuff. Other times I might be playing with somebody that is probably not as polished as some of the other players. So I have to adjust to that level. And that's without sounding arrogant.
So you're saying you're dumbing down your abilities?
You're changing what you do. Yeah. Like the songs that I'm going to do now, if I've got somebody over here that doesn't have the experience to play a lot, but he can play, then I'll adjust the songs to that. And then there's other ones I can play anything I want to, and those guys are going to make me sound really good, just because they can adapt to anything.
Right.
And that's kind of the key of it. I got one of my brothers always says, God, every time we get together, we really sound good. Well, I'm coming to your level. Because if we come up here, because I do a lot of syncopated stuff, and people try and emulate that.
Hold on. You're going to tell me that's the first time I've ever heard that word.
Well,
what is syncopated?
It's like syncopated is a kind of a real poppy type, not a real slow
Okay.
this down. So it's real like for a drummer. So it's a fun style to play. And when I play with people, some of them will try and do that, and I'll go, don't do this. Because if you try and do this and we're not there, it's now called a train wreck. That's like sometimes I'll say, yeah, you're listening to the mystery tour tonight, and I'll kind of evaluate some of the players that have come and gone and stuff, and they're all a lot of fun, and some are great. And I'll say, well, sometimes it's a little bit of a train wreck, or some people might call it a shit show.
Right. So where did the name Mystery Tour, how did you come up with that? Like, what is that about?
Basically, the mystery tour is, and this wasn't really intentional. When I started playing here, people would go, you need to get a name for your band. I'm not from here. I'm from South Dakota. Nobody knows me here. If they come up with the name of the band, nobody knows what's going on. So me and my bass player that was with me were doing a gig, and we're having a lot of fun. I thought, oh, Scott Grote Experience, because we're just and then I go, no, it sounds too much like Hendrix. And then I would go, the Mystery Tour. And somebody said Beatles. I said, no, the Mystery Tour is you never know who's playing. That's the mystery. And people go, where's your tour? Well, same 3 places in Moore County. We went on a road trip last year down to Richmond County down here. But, it's more of a metaphor than anything.
Yeah.
It's like, what's the tour? I've had people that'll hear me and they'll say, hey, yeah, I really like you guys. I'd like to book you. And I'd say, well, the is the problem. And they would look at me and, what do you mean? I says, well, this what you see is not what you might get. I'd say, but I'll always be there. So,
that's
so it's really kind of turned into, it's more of a joke, but it's turned into a kind of a really cool name, and it fits what we do because we're very welcoming to other players and stuff, and we just have a good time. And you never know who you're going to see with me.
That's great. I love that. Absolutely love that. Sounds like so much fun.
So you want to talk a little bit about this little festival?
Yes, sir.
Since we have a little time,
Absolutely.
My background, and this is kind of funny, about 6 years ago before COVID, a friend of mine plays with the band, Cousin Amy's Old Time String Band. They're like a bluegrass old time music band up in Moore County. David goes, hey, my cousin wants to put on this music festival. You guys want to play? I said, yeah, I'll throw a band together. It'll be kind of fun. COVID hits and, the whole world shut down for a while. So I ran into the guy about a month ago. This is how fast this has come together. And he says, hey, my cousin's thinking of doing this festival again. Would you be interested in playing or helping out? I said, yeah. So he gives me his number, and I call the guy up. And we get together. You don't know if it's going to be like a backyard music party or something like that, which I've done a lot of those, are a lot of fun. I go out to this place up by Carthage called River Pines Venue. It's an outdoor events venue. They do like weddings and family reunions and stuff like that. So I drive down this big long gravel road. I'm going, this will be interesting. I get out there and I go, oh, is this neat? So I meet the guy and we're talking, and they said, have you ever done any festivals before? He goes, no, but I've always wanted to do one. And I'm going, okay. I said, well, lucky for you, I've been involved in a few and have been on the front side. Most of them are kind of like small, local things and stuff like that. And he goes, yeah, but somebody said we should do it for a charity or something like that. And I go, well, you can do that, and that's a good idea because you get their fan base or their support base. Said, but it's not like they give you money to go put this thing on to raise money. You do it, and then you pay back to them. So we started talking. I said, I'll help you put it on if you want to. And he goes, okay, well, it's, I have these bands play for my venue out here and stuff. So we have 8 local performers, bands and stuff like that planned at this festival. We're calling it the Hilltop Music Festival at River Pines up in Carthage on May 4th. All the money, one of the local fan favorites, Jonathan Robinson, he's kind of got
casino.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jonathan's going to be playing with kind of a new project that he's working on. I won't let you know who's involved, but I've heard a little bit of it, and it's going to be kind of cool. So they're coming out. They're going to play a set. McKinsey Brothers, I think a lot of people are familiar with them. They've been around the area a lot longer than you guys have. Yeah. Clark Bennett, he's a young guy that does some really neat John Mayer type things. And then I think a guy that's from here, Henry Wicker. You guys know him?
I don't know.
Somebody said he's from Laurenburg or down in this area, and he's going to play a little bit. The band I play with, whoever that will be on that day, I will be more than likely inviting people to play with me. Jonathan and he was one of the first musicians I met and played with when I moved here. So we're good friends. So he'll probably get up and join us. We got Cousin Amy Old Time String Band, which will be doing a lot of old time Appalachian music, fiddle music and stuff. And then to top the night off, we got a blues band, local band called Wolf Kings.
That sounds fantastic.
Yeah,
that sounds right up my alley.
Yeah, it's gonna be, and it's free because the money that we raise, the musicians are all playing for free. If we make, for some odd reason, a whole lot of money, we might throw a little bit of money their way. But the intent is to raise money for Paws of the Pines Rescue.
Okay, even better.
So we're doing that, and then there's a group of guys I get together with once a month, and the Neon Rooster opens the doors for us to go in there, and we just sit around and play guitars. I started it about 4 years ago, as I meet people in the area, and musicians talk about musicians, probably because I usually wear a shirt with the music thing on it. But you start talking, I say, "Oh, do you play?" And yeah, but I don't play very much. So we'd start getting them together at my house to give them the opportunity to play with other people. Open mics don't do that, because if you're not a songwriter and you don't sing, if you're just a guitar player, you're SOL. Jam sessions aren't always that welcoming, for beginners and stuff. So we just get together, play songs. I'll kind of help them with some styles and stuff like that. And every time we get together, the group throws a little money in a pot, and we take that money and we go out and we do good things with it. We did a Eddie 9-volt show at the Neon last fall, raised money, started a guitar program at the Boys and Girls Club up in Moore County, which I've got a lot.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So, and we bought guitars for the Boys and Girls Club, and I've got a good half a dozen or more friends that are helping with the instructions. And as the kids get decent, they have to accomplish a goal, then we give them a guitar to take home with them.
That's fabulous.
Yeah, so kind of neat. So this thing, it's called Bridges. We're going to take some of that money and use it to buy more guitars for the Boys and Girls Club, and probably do a North Carolina music show. There's, as you know, North Carolina is just a wealth of talented musicians, and
it is. And we were talking about that last week, like just the raw talent that seems to come out of North Carolina for whatever reason.
Yeah, it's amazing at the history that goes on here. There's I come from South Dakota, where there's only 3 people in the state. Here you got a bunch of them. And there's a lady, have you heard of Elizabeth Cotton? She's from Carthage, back at the turn of the century, the previous century before you guys were born. And she wrote a song, Freight Train. And she was kind of the heart and the pulse of the North Carolina, kind of not a Delta blues sound, but a really cool song. And it's one of these that's very well known back in that era. And there's a public broadcasting that's been doing some stuff. And there's a guy that's been on there, Harvey Dalton, used to play with a band called the Outlaws. We're thinking that bringing him in as much to see him play those songs and stuff like that, which would be North Carolina songs of the Carolinas, but also his stories of, growing up in that culture and the groups that he's played with and stuff. And then we would probably do a guitar clinic beforehand, but that is yet to come. We're working on that. But that's some of what we're going to do with some of this money is do a show like that for the community. If we make money, then we'll decide who we want to give it to.
Yeah.
Besides you.
Yeah. That's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
When I was wrestling, we did a lot of charity shows, a lot of shows. We do the Falcons Children's Home, and all the boys would come out for free and, just have a good time doing a good thing. Like that's what life's about.
Yep. It's not always about money, and it's about paying it forward.
Yes, sir.
You can do for other people and stuff. I know Ray does that all the time. We come down here and he treats us better. Pinehurst treats us a little better. Their staff offer to carry that equipment out.
Oh,
do that. They might say, "Hey, you want me to grab that mic stand?"
Yeah, well, you can't hurt them. You don't need them.
So how's the music scene here going?
There's always. We try to keep. We like to grab people that aren't very well known but are good musicians in the area.
That's why I come down here.
We were very happy to have you guys. Did a great job that night. You truly did. But we're constantly going to keep going with that. We like to give somebody a platform, try something new. Like I said, a couple weeks ago, I had this band come out here, and they weren't very well practiced up or anything. But I'm like, and then people were like, "Are you mad? Are you mad?" I'm like, "No, I'm not mad, not at all." Do I wish they would played better? Sure, but that's what I feel like is the best thing I can give back to the community in that retrospect is just let you come out, try it. All right, that don't work. You go fix it. I'll give you one more shot at this thing. And then if you can't get it together by then I'll have to just turn you down.
And the best thing to do is to give them the opportunity to audition and play and see how they read the crowd. It's the experience and it gets them better. I know a friend of mine, Taylor Boyersock, plays down here.
Yeah.
He was on our podcast.
Did he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He was one of our first guests.
Yeah.
Great guy. And he just loves to play.
He does.
Yeah.
He does. Matter of fact, he come in here and he was asking me about playing. I'm like, yeah, sure. And it was just, it's dead winter and it's a dead night. And it was literally just like me and a couple of employees. And he sat up here and put on a whole show for an hour and a half. It was literally just us in here, hanging out, listening to him.
A couple of days after the podcast, he came out to the house and I taught him about interfaces and how to record yourself, and he 1,000 questions.
Well, and those experience, everybody has them. I played a show close to around here about a year or two ago, and it was in December, cold weather. Jonathan Robinson was playing with me, two other really good guys. There was a bar. It was kind of like this. You had a bar, but then it had a music room off to the side and stuff. All night long, we played to an audience of...
Yeah.
There was people in the bar, listening, and they'd come over and listen and stuff, and they go, "God, you guys are the best band we've ever had here." And I'm like, "I'd fire us and get the other ones." Nobody here. But it was, there's Christmas parties going on and stuff. And we had a great time practicing, and we're going to have fun.
Yeah.
But you always, you think you're going to have this big crowd, and sometimes you
yes, sir.
Shows and you go, okay, I guess I don't have any friends. My wife even gets tired of coming and listening.
So my wife just made a face.
People go, "Where's your wife at?" I said, "Been there, done that. She's heard that song way too many times. If I play the Wait one more time, she's going to divorce me." A song with 7 7 verses to it or something.
Oh, I'm
like
sure,
that.
man. I'm sure it gets old to them.
Oh,
You're in
man.
there trying to learn a new song or write something, and you just keep playing that same line over and over, trying to fix a little piece. And just an outsider getting frustrated, like, man, if you don't play another note after that one, I swear I'm gonna lose my mind.
Yeah.
I think what gets my wife is my voice warm-ups and voice exercises.
Isn't that what they made tequila for?
It's leaving it on the TV, and then I'm 4 hours in because I don't know how to work our TV.
So our last couple of songs, I got some Nirvana and stuff, and I'll lose my voice because I'm doing the screaming, and I don't want to lose my voice. So I've been trying these exercises for a couple of weeks, just trying to make it stronger.
And how's that working?
Well, we played 5 hours last night, and I can still talk.
Yeah.
So
That's pretty good.
like,
Yeah.
But when I say 5 hours, there was one point we played like a 19-minute version of Freebird, and that's how it goes.
That's not for the singer though. That's for the guitar player.
It is.
Yeah.
But I'm playing rhythms, which sucked. My hands started cramping up because I'm just playing 3 chords over and over.
I did gig one time where
All right. So yeah, Ray, did you know that it's Autism Awareness Month?
I did know that. I did.
So I think you got a guest we're going to bring up just really quickly.
Yeah. Harrison, you want to come up and talk to us for a second? Come on up here, buddy.
give him this chair.
He won't be with just a minute.
All right.
He's got something he wants to mention. Come on up here, Mr. Harrison.
Yeah, thank y'all for having me on the show.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Oh.
So,
Make sure your headphones are on, right?
I got
Oh, technical difficulty.
you. That way. There you
Thank you,
go.
thank you.
All right. Can you hear us?
Yep, so I can hear y'all now.
All right.
Perfect.
so, Mr. Harrison, you are in fact a person that has autism, aren't you?
Yes, I was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder at the age of 12, or excuse me, 13. That was back in 2008.
Yeah. So,
Um,
what is autism? Can you answer something along those lines?
Well, I don't know the true definition off the top of my head. I just know it has like a behavior sort of thing where people, excuse me, that are not on the spectrum can catch up on like
That they'll misread the cues.
yeah, exactly.
right.
Don't misread the cues like being able to speak, being able to make up all their achievements, like being able to read, write, spell, whatever.
And the thinking words into the head and
Exactly.
Right.
Gotcha.
Okay. So let me ask you this. If we know somebody that has autism, what would you think would be, overall, because everybody's individual, what do you think is the overall best way to approach that? To ignore it like it doesn't exist, or to like say, hey, I see you have autism and we're going to help you in any way we can. Like, what do you feel is like the best way for somebody that doesn't have autism to approach someone who doesn't, or that does? I'm sorry.
Well, to me, I think the best way to approach it is just to talk with them, kind of see how they would react. And sometimes they may have a quick reaction. Sometimes they may have a delayed reaction on what to say, because not every autistic person is on the same level. Everybody has their own way of thinking about the autism spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
There's 3 levels. There's the severity level. There's I guess I don't know what the second level is called, but I call it mild functioning autism. And then of course there's the high functioning, where high functioning autism is basically like people that are on top of their game, knowing what to say, what to write, what to read, what to do, basically. Whereas somebody who has severity autism needs like a lot of help with everyday basis.
Mm-hmm.
It just really depends.
Okay. So what is let's say, what is the best way that somebody can help somebody? If say they wanted to help someone with autism, what's the best way that somebody could go forward with it?
The best way I could describe it, and I may not be saying this right, but is to kind of understand that you know somebody that has autism, like of course you know me, and I go through a lot of different things. Like today, I could be really happy, or who knows, tomorrow I could be really sad about whatever. And sometimes people ask me, "Well, what's going on with you?" If I'm in a sad mood, like you saw how I was when I was working here a couple of times, I get into that one set off mood where I get really upset, and I just had to just shut down for a little bit and reset my mind, just kind of regain my thoughts and what's going on with the situation that day.
Right. Understood. I
And
think
then-
that's anybody could kind of get it to that level. I don't necessarily think that you have to be autistic. Sometimes I
Right.
need a reset too. So just real quick, what is your favorite autistic foundation? Like if somebody wanted to donate money to a nonprofit to help with autism, what would be your favorite one?
I would say my favorite one for the charity would be the Autism Society of North Carolina. That would probably be a good one for
Autism Society of North
for a
Carolina.
charity organization.
Okay.
We'll throw a link down there in the
And
tape version.
Splitting Hairs will be making a donation too, just so you know, in your name. So
Thank you. I
know.
appreciate
Oh,
that.
absolutely. All right. So let's say it again. The Autism
Society of
North Carolina.
Mhm.
What exactly do they do?
I haven't really looked into the organization. I just know that they are just another
Mhm.
organization for autistic people, basically helping out with therapy like ABA and other stuff.
What is ABA?
ABA is, I forgot what it's called, but it's something behavior adaptive behavior association.
That sounds right.
Or something like that.
I'd accept that. Yeah, that sounds right. Who's your favorite character on Love on the Spectrum?
It's now I haven't seen the series in a while, so I can't remember all the characters' names, to be honest.
Because I love that show. We've talked about it before. Yeah. Like I love it. Like it's not.
There's some of those episodes that really grab you by the
Yes.
heartstrings.
Yes.
You have you sitting there
Exactly.
choking up.
Yeah, you sit there, you love every single character. Not characters, they're people.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
you love every single one of them off gate. Like you're like rooting for everyone.
Yeah.
I love that show.
It's just that I really never watched the entire series, and after not watching it for a while, I just kind of lost my thought
Interest.
on
Yeah.
who the characters were.
Okay. Well, once again, the charity's name was
It was Autism Society of North Carolina.
Autism Society of North Carolina.
Mhm.
All right. Well, thank you for coming up here and talk with us. You'd be more than welcome to come and hang out with us for the rest of the show if you like.
Sure.
Yeah, there's a chair over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or we can get you another stool and put you over here.
I'll be I'll just go over there.
All right. Well, come on over. All right. Thank you, Mr. Harrison.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, we was wanting to do that last week, but like you said, his autism sometimes will kind of stop him from going forward with certain things. So we had to hold off for this week. But Harrison's a great guy, and most people that come around here know that. So if you got a couple extra dollars, apparently he seems to think that the Autism Society of North Carolina is a good charity that would help him out. So, all right, thank you. So you got your guitar up here. You gonna play us a song?
I could do that. I didn't know what to expect.
We never know what to
So I
expect.
thought as I was getting in my car, my truck, I thought I should probably bring a guitar. Just in case they're expecting me
you
to
always
have
bring a
one,
guitar.
Absolutely.
Always.
So thought,
Well, at some point I was going to try to bend your arm a little bit here.
do a little song. I think I could
Yeah.
probably do that.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Absolutely.
You guys gonna sing along?
And nobody
If I
wants
know
to hear that. Not me. That's why I pay you guys.
Mama take this bad job from me. I can't use it anymore. Maybe not, you got to see. 'Cause I've been knocking on heaven's door. I'm knocking on heaven's door.
Knocking on heaven's door.
Come on, y'all know it.
Knocking on heaven's door.
Knocking on heaven's door now. Knocking on
Heaven's door.
Mama put these pistols in the ground. 'Cause I can't shoot
Them anymore.
those big black clouds.
These big black clouds are coming down.
'Cause I've been
Knocking on heaven's door.
everybody.
Knocking on heaven's door.
I've been knocking on heaven's door.
Knocking on heaven's door.
I've been knocking on heaven's door.
Door. Knocking on heaven's door. Knocking on heaven's door.
You just got me to do more than most of my karaoke guys can get me to do. I just don't.
It's all about blending in.
Well, it's hiding in the background. I was nice and low. I didn't want to burn nobody's eardrums up.
Like I tell the guys, I said, it's about making the mistakes quietly,
Yes.
you know, because they're going to be there. Just, if you're not quite there, you just, they'll hold there. What else you guys want to talk
That
about?
song, so everybody plays it differently. Like everybody that play the Dylan version. I hate the Guns N' Roses version. I play the Grateful Dead versions. They're normally the version I go
Very
to.
jammy and stuff. Well, it's funny because playing with multiple different players, and I usually have one drummer that's available for most gigs, but once in a while I'll have other drummers and stuff, and people go, send me your set list and I'll listen to the songs on the YouTube. I'll say, don't. And they go, what do you mean? I said, because I don't do them like that.
Yeah.
I put my own version, and it might even change from night to night.
Yeah.
Look at the crowd.
Yeah.
You've got an older crowd. You're gonna. We played one patio a couple years ago, and quiet. I think both of us were snoring it through the second set. It was so quiet. It's like, you can play any quieter.
That's it. One of the things about Taylor Bowersock that really appealed to me was that he's got his own music that he writes. I love that, and I'm always pushing for whatever bands I hire. Like, look, try to do your own stuff. If you have your own stuff, I want to hear that.
Right.
So with that being asked or said, have you wrote any songs?
I don't write songs, and I get asked that a lot. And part of it is I get real picky when I hear what I'm doing on tape and stuff like that. I don't record and stuff, but I'll end up trying to write a song, and I'm going, God, is that all you got in your head? You know, because it starts sounding like every other song, and you kind of, it's dangerous to fall into that. So I call myself a singer of songwriters.
Okay.
And because everybody, you do any originals? I say every song I do is an original. By Bob Dylan, by Eric Clapton, by Jim Morrison.
I've always thought of songs are a blueprint. It's not the house. It's the blueprint. I can paint those walls any color I want. I can hang any curtains I want. It's still technically the same house, but
And some people want it like this. I had Good friend of mine that played the big circuit and stuff. And hey, Dan, how do you like it? He goes, I hate it. He goes, I can't play because he's got to play parts.
Yeah.
So he's reading charts. He doesn't get to open up, improvise, and he was doing all the big fairs and stuff like that. And he was just miserable, And you look at when you see somebody that wrote a song, an original song, and they don't remember it. Willie's probably got other excuses for it. One, he's 92. He's probably been smoking.
He done smoked that song a decade ago.
Yeah. And songs are stories. I there's a couple of songs I do that I get the lyrics twisted around, and it's the stories kind of can intertwine. When you listen to them, like "Across the Universe" by the Beatles, it's bits and pieces of stories and stuff like that. Each verse tells its own little story. And a friend of mine goes, "Here," he printed out these words to "All Along the Watchtower." I said, "What's that for?" He goes, "So you get the words right." I've been changing around for 30 years. I'm not going to change it now.
Right.
But in other ones, you have to have the story.
Yeah.
You got the pickup truck, you put it in gear, and you took off, and you got to follow certain things. But like Dylan's music is so it makes you think of what's he talking about, or the song. You're familiar with the song "The Weight"? Take the load off, Annie.
Yeah.
It's done by the band. Yeah.
Take the load off, Annie.
So that song supposedly written by Robbie Robertson, and the story goes that he started writing it and he had pieces of paper out. Different members of the band would come by and write a verse out. Another one would write a verse, and you listen to the story. It's about journeys, but it's different journeys and different things and stuff. It really doesn't say a lot. It says lots of little pieces and stuff. So, it's kind of neat when you can intertwine them a little bit.
Yeah.
So, you write it all?
Okay, so I do. We're not playing any of them. In my opinion, no one's
single
I
original.
got a guitar.
no one's gonna pay to hear my songs, right?
That's not true.
That,
I just sit here and told
I'll
you that's
sneak
not true.
one in, every now and then. But I'm very much on. I want all of them singing and having a good time.
Most
And-
people don't come to hear originals until you introduce them to your originals.
Yeah.
So you have to, like Taylor, we talked and stuff, and I'll say, because he does a lot of original stuff, and I'll go, keep your covers in there. People, you have to use them to catch them. Throw your originals in. Don't throw them a lot in at a time. So when you're doing, Knocking on Heaven's Door or John Mayer or something like that, and then all of a sudden you throw in one of your originals and they go, what was that song?
Yeah.
That's the trick to it. If you do a whole bunch of them, they'll go, what's he playing up there? But if you kind of throw them in here and there, it kind of intrigues them a little bit. So, no, I wish I did write, but I feel fortunate. I thank every songwriter out there for writing songs, because without them, I wouldn't have anything to do.
I wouldn't consider myself. I kind of Ouija board it.
Yeah.
You're playing. I'm just gonna. You just kind of let it go,
Right.
and don't get married to a specific lyric. You might want to change it, but for the most part, I'll sing it through the first time that we play it. It's
You make up a few words if you want to, throw them in and stuff.
it's
kind of cool.
I think Ouija board is a great way to segment into one of our favorite questions we like to ask our guests. So, what is your favorite conspiracy theory? We're not asking for any that you necessarily believe in, but what is your favorite conspiracy theory?
The current situation. we're in. Does that count? No, I don't know. I read a novel years ago called Captains and Kings, and it's all about the wealth of our country back in, during the Rockefellers and,
The 30s, 40s, 50s.
or even before that, the industrial era, like
Okay.
early
I haven't read it, but I'm
1900s,
familiar with it.
Yeah, and it
yeah.
just talks about the power of the country in these. And my wife, said I should read it and stuff, and she goes, it's a fiction book, but it's based on nonfiction
Mhm.
of the Kennedys, the Roosevelts, the Rockefellers,
America's royalty.
and it's like if there wasn't conspiracies back there that, but conspiracy is only something we don't know that's said behind closed doors.
Right.
Conspiracy theories and more so now than I think at any point in history are just something that hasn't been proven yet.
Yeah.
Because it seems like even the crazy stuff is like, what, are you serious? Like this is a real thing? Like, and then that UFOs being
They
a
just
good
made the
example.
dire wolf.
The dire
How,
wolf,
how are we
yes.
going into Jurassic Park all of a sudden? Couldn't we learn from that movie that we shouldn't?
I'm kind of a realist, but I have fun with the unknown. I worked in DC years ago, and the secretary we had would look at me and my partner and say, "You ever think about what's up there?" Now, this was 1990, and I'm going, "Yeah, ceiling up there. I think they're watching us." And that's about the time satellites were starting to get big and stuff.
Okay.
So we kind of like, damn, I don't. She's serious, And now it's like the internet. Yeah, people go, yeah, they're watching. I said, really? If they want to watch my stuff, I feel sorry for them. But we thought about bringing in some tinfoil the next morning and say, here, Rita, we have a hat for you. We'll protect you from it.
She wasn't wrong though.
Well,
She did. It was just a feeling that she had. Right. I think personally, I believe that we have a collective knowledge too. Right. Because usually when somebody comes up with an idea, a brand new idea that nobody else has ever thought of, all the way around the world, there's another handful of people having the exact same idea at the exact same time, and that's something they proved through science.
Yeah.
And it's just about, you can think of an idea, you can come up with a process, and you can not implement it.
Sure.
And how many times does that happen? It's I used to do a lot of traveling, and the worst thing about traveling is you have a whole lot of time to think. And when you have an active mind and you're thinking and you go, do I act on that? You just never know. You come up with an idea, and I'm notorious for saying, hey, i.e. case in point, and different things. But when you come up with them, is it just an idea that, okay, this could be a conspiracy, but once you really sit back and kind of analyze them and stuff, but I don't know. It's one of those things where
So I love conspiracy theories just based on the fact that you can't necessarily prove them, right?
Right.
So that just
keep
leaves
your mind thinking.
Exactly. Because you can say like, all right, well, we know that this happened, and then the conspiracy comes after that, and that can literally go in any direction.
Yeah. So what's your favorite conspiracy theory?
Oh, wow. I wasn't expecting the tables to get turned on me like that. My favorite one, just because it amuses me so much, is that birds are not real, that they are I believe drones or government drone spies or something like that. Oh yeah, because there's no way that an animal would evolve for flight for what, all these different ones that I've
How
heard.
can a hummingbird stand there like this here and not move but be flying?
Right. Oh my God. I don't know why, but that one is just, when I first heard it, I'm like, okay, this has got to be like an April Fool's joke or what's going on. But no, there are people out there.
They're serious
It was
about
just
it.
like, when I first heard the flat Earth was coming back, I'm like, no way, dude. Like, we've been out there, we've seen it.
Wait, I'm from South Dakota. The Earth is not flat.
It is in South Dakota.
It's like, you can see over there. Way over there.
So I wouldn't want that either. I don't know why. I'm one of those people. I always feel like somebody's watching me. There's no possible way that they could be watching me. Which, I mean, look, it's kept me from doing dumb things in my life. That was probably some kind of safety measure. But to live somewhere where there's no trees and it's that flat, like I would pull my hair out. What little bit I got left, I would be pulling it out. Like, oh my God.
Trees. There's like one over there.
Yeah, and about 3 miles down the road that you can still see, it's over there.
Well, it's funny because the farmers out there would plant tree rows to stop erosion.
Uh-huh.
So you'll see chunk of land this flat,
Uh-huh.
and it's all sectioned off in 1 mile squares, and then row of trees and row of trees. And then another row of trees and row of trees. So they'll plant them for erosion because the wind blows like.
Yeah.
Oh, no
Oh,
doubt.
I could imagine.
Not much there to slow it down.
When I first moved here, it was kind of funny because my wife and I were listening to the weather report. And I said, yeah, high wind warnings today. Keep both hands on the wheel. This is Moore County. We're going to have gusts up to 18 miles an hour. Is this a joke? Because we would get 60-mile-an-hour straight winds. Then you would get gusts, and it's wasn't uncommon because you got the mountains there, the weather changes, and it just blows.
Yeah.
You'd stand up like this here. Well, not that bad.
Yeah.
but-
Yeah.
So have you ever been actually knocked down by the wind?
No, well, I'm a pretty good sized guy, but I've been, leaning over pretty good.
Yeah.
No, I've probably been blown down a couple of times, but it probably wasn't the wind that was the cause. It was
Right.
So, well, that's a pretty neat little thing you guys do here. Who's
Thank
your
you.
guest next week?
Actually, I'm not available next week.
Uh-oh.
Well, we're not talking about
Yeah.
who's.
So I'm gonna be
not
flying
your-
solo,
Yeah.
am I?
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll find me somebody to guest host with me. I'll reach out. Let me see here.
How about if I do one more song and
Oh, you know what?
Yeah.
wrap it up?
It
we go.
is actually going to be Easter Sunday. I
Yeah.
think that maybe we'll just take Easter off.
Yeah.
That's a
I don't
good
see
idea.
why.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go spend it
It's,
with family.
Yeah. I got
Close the
family thing
shop
going
up.
on.
Yeah.
Give your workers a day off. Maybe.
Oh no, we don't give them time off.
Yeah.
I tape thumbtacks to the seat of their pants so they can't sit down on shift. I do not. I have an amazing group. There's been a couple times like just this past between Christmas and New Year's, we were just going to close down, right? Let's just take a week off, everybody relax and recuperate. Well, they didn't want to, and that's how I ended up.
Yeah, that's how we ended up playing.
That's where that
Oh,
show
really?
come from. So, I'm like, okay, and I talked to him. Hey, I've got a band. I got a few friends that have a band. So it went from me just bringing him and
Turns
a
into
couple
a
friends.
party for
Yeah.
It was a music festival in here. It was
Yeah.
it was absolutely amazing. They were doing dueling guitars, and
Oh, cool.
they were swapping
Yeah.
members around, doing some one-off stuff.
We
Like,
had
it was a lot of fun.
Couple metal bands, of course. Like I said, we play more like Xbox 20 and Counting Crows. So we were kind of
You gotta
a
mix it
little
up
bit of
little bit.
everything,
Yeah. Who can do this? I
Yeah,
can do this.
yeah.
What key is it in? G, let's go. Wasn't the last one on G? Yeah, let's just start every song on that one.
Yeah, that's a good base point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah,
So one more.
yeah, you gonna play us out?
Yeah, we'll do I'll keep it short. This is one everybody likes to hear. This is an old Bill Withers song. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. Only darkness when she's away now. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone now. Anytime she goes away, I wonder this time where she's gone. I wonder if she's gonna stay now. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone now. Anytime she goes away. I know, 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 I know. Ain't gonna leave your thing alone now. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. Only darkness when she's away. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone now. Anytime she goes away.
right. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you
Thank you
so
for
much.
coming on.
It's great to
It
meet
was
you.
an absolute pleasure.
Nice meeting you. Good luck on your fundraising.
Thank you very much.
And we're gonna throw that show, the poster right there for the music festival is gonna be down in the links. My band will be here. Echo Vibe will be here this coming Friday
This
night,
coming Friday.
April 18th, 9 o'clock until. No
Mhm.
cover charge. Come on out.
That's right.
All
Thank you
right.
guys. This is Ray,
Dirk.
We have Scott, and just off camera over here, we have Mr. Harrison. You can't quite see him. We want to thank you for spending your time with us.
I'm gonna
And
put my head in the camera a little bit.
Godspeed, folks. Thank you.